everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to share with you guys some cute DIY boho inspired room decor ideas. One of them I want to give full credit to LoneFox here on YouTube. He created a video featuring some really cute boho mirrors and I wanted to replicate one of them for myself, so I'll make sure to link his video down below. The rest of these DIYs I kind of just eyeballed and came up with it as I was making it, so hopefully they can be replicated if you guys want to do that. I thought I would still share them with you guys because I think they turned out really nice. Yeah, let's just go ahead and get right into it. First DIY is this boho mirror that I got the idea from LoneFox. I'm actually just replicating the exact same thing because I loved it so much. I will make sure to link his video down below. But I picked up these black bearded wheats from Hobby Lobby. I couldn't find the bamboo vase fillers that LoneFox used in his video from Michael's, so this was the closest thing I could find. The stems of these are not very strong, but they have that bamboo look, so I'm just going to try to make it work. And then I also picked up this mirror. This is 10 inches, but of course you can use any size you'd like. I also picked up a raffia string. You can get this at any craft store. And then you also need a glue gun, extra glue sticks, and then a pair of scissors. So since I wasn't able to find the really sturdy bamboo material that LoneFox used in his video, I made sure to pick really sturdy and thick pieces of this wheat that I purchased just so that they would be a lot more sturdy. And then I went ahead and measured and cut down the pieces that I needed. So in total I needed 12 7-inch pieces, 18 5-inch pieces. These are the pieces that are going to create that burst effect. And then I needed a total of 24 3-inch pieces, and these pieces are going to create that kind of like diamond shape. And then later on I cut about 13 2-inch pieces. These were the pieces that went around the border, but again these measurements might differ depending on the size of mirror that you use and depending on how much materials you want to use for this DIY. I first started creating those diamond shapes, and in order to do that I took 4 of my 3-inch pieces and just kind of created the diamond shape that I wanted. And I took a big generous glob of hot glue on each corner, and I also used parchment paper right underneath, or wax paper, so that it wouldn't stick to the surface, so that is also recommended while it's drying. And then I just continued to do that until I created 6 of these diamond shapes. Next, I added a dab of glue on the very top of the corner, and then I started adding my raffia. I just added the very end of it, and then you just kind of want to loop this in and out of the diamond shape. So you can see I looped it around one of the sticks and then went inwards and outwards, loop it through the other side. It's kind of hard to explain, but I'm sure you guys can tell by looking here. Just kind of loop it around and make sure not to make it too tight, or else it will kind of make your diamond shape a little bit skinnier. So just try to fill in as much area as you can. And whenever I needed to add more raffia, I just added some glue to glue the very end piece of that first piece, and then added more glue to add the end of the next piece, and just continue on until the whole diamond was covered. Next, I'm just going to start to assemble all these pieces and just do a dry fitting. So I'm starting with the diamond pieces first because I'm going to work around those. So I just created 6 of these. However, you can create more if you'd like. And then I went in with the 5-inch pieces. I'm doing 3 of these 5-inch pieces between each of the diamond pieces. And then I'm doing 2 of the 7-inch pieces, 1 between each of the 5-inch pieces. So there's 2 between each diamond pieces, if that makes sense. I wanted to kind of stagger them and make them really look like a starburst. However, you can make this design however you wanted to. And then once those are laid out how I like them, I'm just gonna go ahead and take my glue gun and kind of go crazy. Basically just I'm gonna glue down the diamond pieces first, again just to make sure those are secure, and then you can go ahead and glue down the rest of the pieces. Next, I added some raffia just around the border of the mirror like so, just adding a little bit of glue on each piece of stick and then sticking that raffia and just making my way around the whole mirror until the ends of the pieces connect. This next step I think really helped to pull the mirror together and make it look a lot more cohesive. So I'm taking 2-inch pieces and just put those around the border of the mirror and then went ahead and glue those down. And last but not least, I just took some random yarn that I had laying around. I created a loop and then glued that to the very back of the mirror towards the top, wherever you want it to be centered. And then once that's dried, you can go ahead and hang up your mirror. Next, I really contemplated if I wanted to include this DIY or not, just because it's all over YouTube already, but these are DIY faux ceramic vases. And in order to do this DIY, all you need are some paints. I already have acrylic paints on hand, and then you want to get some baking soda. I've heard you should use baking soda and not baking powder. And then I went to Goodwill and I found some really nice vases for really cheap. They had a bunch of different sizes, different shapes, so definitely recommend checking out your thrift store. And then you just want to mix up your paint. So I'm doing about half and half of paint and baking soda. I just kind of eyeballed it, honestly. And when it got to that thicker consistency, that's kind of when I stopped. So once you have your paint and your baking soda mix, you can just go ahead and paint your vases. I recommend doing thin layers. I ended up doing 2 layers per vase. You also want to make sure you let each layer dry completely before moving on to the next one, or else it can move the paint around since the paint is a thicker consistency with the baking soda. So here is after the first layer, I'm adding on the second layer. If you want more of that distressed look, I think you can pull off 1 layer, but since this vase was green, I did do 2 layers to make sure the green color was covered completely. And this is the completed DIY. I think they look super realistic and really boho. This DIY I featured in my Boho bathroom makeover, and they are just these really pretty wall gallery paintings. For this DIY, I just picked up some white poster paper from Target and also these really natural wood frames from IKEA. I also just used some acrylic paints that I had on hand, along with some paintbrushes and a pair of scissors. IKEA has a variety of sizes in this natural wood grain frame, and I just picked up the 12x16 frames. They were only $10 each. I'm going to start off by taking apart this frame, and I'm going to use this back piece as a stencil a little bit later. I'm taking out anything that I won't be using, such as this instructional sheet and this white border piece. Next, I'm just taking that back piece and putting that on top of the white poster. I'm tracing that, cutting that out, and I'm going to repeat this 3 times. Next up, I'm just starting off with the base colors first. I just found some inspiration off of Pinterest and Etsy and basically just going to replicate that. So I decided to do this really light beige muted color as a background on all my pieces, but of course you can choose whatever artwork you like, and then you can just enjoy this little montage of me painting. I let them dry completely and this is how they turned out. I think they look really organic, especially since they're hand painted. So next up, I'm just going to continue putting this into the IKEA frames. I love these frames because this acrylic part does come with a nice sealant on both sides. So it really helps prevent any type of scratches. So I'm just going to put those paintings in there, put the frames back together, and then hang those up. Last but not least is this DIY standing planter, and this one was the hardest because it took a lot of trial and error. However, the DIY itself is pretty easy, I think. So I found these beautiful rattan or wicker baskets from Joann's on clearance for $10 each, and I thought these would be perfect for plant stands. I also found almost identical plant stands online for sale for over $100, but we're gonna DIY this for cheaper. First, starting off, I picked up this 7/8 dowel from Home Depot, and I basically just eyeballed however tall I wanted the plant stand to be, which I think measured about 10 inches off the ground. So I just took the dowel, measured 10 inches and cut 3 separate pieces that measure 10 inches. And at the very ends, I made sure to cut at an angle. And you can see this piece here, there's a little brown spot at the end. That was from my first attempt at this DIY, so that didn't work out. So I'm just cutting off that part there. But you want to make sure you cut at an angle so that the legs angle out to support that basket. Next, I took my drill and drilled a hole in the center of the end of the dowel where it will be connected to the basket, not the end of the legs. And this would just help the screw go in a lot easier since the way that we'll be screwing this in is a little bit more difficult. I decided to paint these legs because the color of the wood was a little bit too light compared to the basket, and if you have wood stain, I would recommend using that instead. I did have wood stain, but I was too lazy to use it because of the smell and waiting for it to dry and all that. I also picked up this wood circle cutout. This fits the bottom of the basket really well, and this will really help to secure your screws to your basket to your legs. I also decided to paint this because the color was too light and I really wanted it to blend into the basket. So after it dried, the color was a little bit too brown now. So what I decided to do was I sanded off the very top layer of that dried coating, and then it actually matched really nicely. It was just like a really nice tint. So again, like I stated, if you have wood stain, that would be a lot better. So assembling the legs may look confusing, but just bear with me. So I'm going to take that wood cutout piece, put that inside the basket, and I'm going to drill 3 screws in a triangle because we're going to connect the legs. And I'm just going to take the screw it through, make sure that it pokes through at the bottom. And right when it pokes through, you don't want to make the screw go through all the way yet. Once it's poked through like that, you want to take the very end of one of those dowels, connect it to the center, and make sure your dowel is facing outwards. And then hold on to that dowel really well while screwing in that screw all the way until it's tightened. I do recommend drilling the 3 holes before you go in with the screw. It just makes it a lot easier. You can see there's a little opening on the right side there. That was just a mistake. Like I said, this DIY took a lot of trial and error, but after I screwed those holes, I just took the screws one at a time, screwed it little by little until it peeked through on the other side, taking a pre-drilled hole dowel and inserting that, making sure that's connected to the screw, and then screwing from the inside of the basket, making sure to hold the dowel at the same time to really secure it. This is what the bottom should look like. All the legs should be sticking outwards, and then this is what the inside should sort of look like. It should just have 3 screw heads, but again, like I stated, I messed up a little bit earlier. Okay, that is it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments which was your favorite. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.